Rail 150 here. This is a quick look at a problem that could occur to anybody who has a split chassis loco. There's lots of information on YouTube about this, and this is a split chassis loco from Bachmann. This is Mayflower, and Mayflower is an LNER B1. One of the reasons I wanted this locomotive is because I'm modelling the Rail 150 Cavalcade from 1975 in Shildon, County Durham. This is one of the pieces that was exhibited and was on display on that day when it went down the track towards Darlington. So it's a bit dark actually, but this is Mayflower. And it was the only loco I could find which was called Mayflower that was modelled and also I could use to represent on the layout. However, it didn't look like this when I got it. This was an eBay purchase, and I've never had my fingers bitten on eBay. Maybe I'm one of the lucky ones. But this was a nice looking model. It came in this nice presentation pack. Looked very, very promising, and I got it for a bargain price, to be honest. I got it for £42, and then the international shipping was only £3.99. Now, I should have been a little bit dubious because I contacted the person and said, look, I'm in Germany, please tell me the price for shipping this locomotive to Germany. He goes, oh, that's fine, I'll take the hit for the extra cost for shipping. And I was thinking, well, that's very good of him. Or is it very good of him, or is he desperate to get rid of this locomotive? But I'd already made the purchase then, it was on its way. So when it arrived, I was very happy. However, not for long. I picked the loco out of the box, and the first thing that happened is the wheels fell off. Or did they fall off? No, sorry. What I did is put the locomotive onto the layout, tried to run it. The locomotive made a buzzing noise, and then the wheel fell off. Yeah, that's what happened. The wheel fell off for two reasons. One, the centre, let me just get a pencil and point to this. These centres on Bachmann wheels, they bulge out. Okay, they have a tendency to absorb, I think they absorb oil. Should get some more light. They absorb oil, and what occurs is they start to bow out. Now, if it's bowing out, as the wheel's going around, the con rod, the connecting rods here, can't clear the bulge that is on the wheel. I'll put a picture on in a second and show you. Also, another thing is they have inside plastic axles that join the two wheels together, and they were cracked. They were cracked and loose, and that was allowing the wheels to come away from the locomotive. And the reason why it didn't rotate at all is because they weren't quartered. So somebody had attempted to put the wheels back on in order to ship it, or to just get the thing on its wheels again, and they hadn't quartered the wheels. And what that means is the connecting rods here have to be 90 degrees difference in angle between this side and the other side. And if they're not, obviously the wheels can't rotate, and they just lock. So they were the problems, and I'll show you what I did to get it to run. Now, I'll say get it to run. It isn't perfect right now, and I've written to Bachmann, and they are going to be sending the spares. They can send the wheel set for £12.99. However, they are in black, not in this green colour. But as you can see, the wheel there, the back, is not in the best condition anyway. And that's due to one of my repair methods, and I'll talk about that. And also, but they can send through the connecting pieces, which are bits of white nylon plastic, which for here, this one's got a gear on, and this one is the same as what's at the back. And they're only £5.99, and I think it's about £1.99 postage. And they know I'm in Germany, so I thought that was reasonable. So I will order them, and then I'll paint the wheels, and then she should be running a lot better. But I will show her running shortly. When I had the locomotive out, I've taken the opportunity to put on the detail pack, because the locomotive did come with a detail pack. So I've put the fireman and driver in there, and I've also put the front, well, it's the brake pipe which I've put on, as you can see. See there, just at the side. So this I've glued on as well. Okay, so I'll show you some of the pictures that I took and talk about what I did. So the first picture is the locomotive in its presentation box without the chassis, because I was already working on that. But it shows that the presentation box it's very nice. It's a case of a nice box, shame about the loco. But maybe I'm a little bit unforgiving. It's the split chassis which is the problem. The detail on the loco is actually it's not too bad. It's nicely painted, and well, I mean, it has rivets in the right place, and it looks in pristine condition. So yeah, that's okay. But it's just the way that it runs which is the main issue. There is the detailing pack with some of the parts I couldn't identify. Actually, they look like a barrel, and I worked out that one of them was seats, although they didn't look too much like seats, but some were seats. But the other two were firemen, and I'll take those out the bag. So there is the detailing pack. I'm hoping, well, maybe somebody could put a comment on to say what they are. The vacuum pipe to go on the tender I can recognise. Now, it had a seat for the fireman, but I found that because of the shape of the locomotive, you have a choice of putting either a fireman in or a seat. You can't put them both in because the fireman is in a standing position and there's just not enough room for him to fit in front of the seat. So I didn't put that seat in. I thought I'd have preferred the fireman. The thing that looks like a barrel, I don't know what it is. And also another thing that I just don't know. It looks like a suitcase with a wedge on the side. Again, I don't know what that is, but perhaps somebody else does. So in close-up, the locos. So I've got some close-up pictures here. The loco is well detailed. There's a lot of separately fitted parts. Looking at the high-pressure steam pipes coming from the smoke box at the front, that's nice. The handrail looks really realistic. The various fitments on the side look nice, so I have no complaints about that. The paint is nicely applied. Perhaps the white lining could be a little bit more accurate, but again, you have to zoom in incredibly close, more than my eyes can see in order to see a problem. The numbering is crisp. It's also got separately fitted details on the top, looking at the whistles and the pressure gauges. And also the reversing lever is there, but that's plastic. It has the foot steps at the back towards the back of the cab, and yeah, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. There is detail inside the cab. Excuse me. There's detail inside the cab that isn't painted, and it would benefit from being painted. But to be honest, I don't think I'm going to get a chance to do that now. I've already rashly glued in the fireman and the driver. I think I'll just perhaps leave that as it is, unless one day I get some magnifying glasses and have a go at painting on maybe some of the copper piping and the gauges. But we have to have literally nothing else to do in my layout before we get around to that. And here we start looking at the pictures of the wheels. You can see that the wheel is bulging out at the left-hand side there, and I've got another example of that. And also the wheel is loose. Looking at the wheel on the right, how it's sitting on the plastic axle, the nylon axle, you can see that it's come adrift. And it was literally, if you pick the wheel up, it would fall off. Here you see the crack. I've got a closer image of that. There's a crack running down the white nylon, which is allowing the wheels to be slack. So that was the main issue. Now, what I did with the nylon is I've used super glue, and I glued it. First of all, I cleaned it in alcohol to kill any grease off. Then I super glued it. It was successful. There's the super glue I used. It's a German super glue. It says strong and quick on it. It wasn't very quick. It took quite a long time to dry, especially to the level which I wanted it to dry. But it did seem to be quite strong. In fact, it glued one side of the wheel together, and what that did is show me that there was actually a crack at the other side as well. So in actual fact, it glued the wheel in two halves, or not the wheel, but the nylon axle in two halves back together again to a point where it would actually run. There's a picture of the chassis taken off the locomotive. You can see I've taken the connecting rods off, which are very, very small screws, and there's the hole in the chassis where the wheel would fit, and just behind and underneath the motor. And that's a view looking at the front, also missing the wheel. So now we've only got one wheel remaining on the locomotive. What it does show you is the springs underneath are reasonably well detailed. The valve gear, incidentally, can just be removed off the locomotive. It's kind of glued on. You do have to be careful that you put the valve gear the right way around so that the linkages are in the right position, because otherwise that causes a problem. But they don't appreciate being taken on and off very many times, and they do have to be glued back on to be more permanent. So, but all I'm going to use is I'm going to use black tack for that when I get some, because I may need to take it off again in the future, and I don't want to use super glue. Black tack will hold it on. There's a view of the split chassis. It kind of really shows why it's called a split chassis. The principle behind the idea is to try to remove the need for pickups. The pickup is supposed to be done with the wheels rotating around in the chassis, and one side is positive, one side is negative, and the split between the middle stops the polarities from touching. So there's a picture of the newly glued axle, and a picture of it back on the wheel there. Now you'll see that the wheel bulge is clearly visible there, so what I had to do is, after I checked to see that it would all fit on properly, I took the wheel back off, and the way I actually fixed the wheels was as follows. I took a 1mm drill and I drilled out the centres of the wheel. This is different to what some people do, but this is what I did. Drilled out the centre of the wheel, then I put in super glue into the centre of the wheel, so the super glue would sit underneath the bulging plastic and flow onto the steel wheel behind, or the metal wheel behind. I then took a 10 kilo weight and positioned it over the top of a it was a flat screwdriver, positioned over the top of a flat screwdriver, that then transferred the weight, 10 kilo weight, onto the wheel centre and pushed the bulge flat. I then waited for the super glue to dry, and that worked. So the wheel went back on the locomotive, and from there on in I was able to re-quarter it, and I'll show you how it's running now. So you can see the locomotive going around the part of the reverse section. Now, bearing in mind, when I first got this on eBay, it wasn't even moving. There's still some wobble in the back, but that'll be alleviated by the new wheel parts when they arrive from Bachmann. Quite a tight radius this, so I wouldn't go too fast. But considering the situation she was in when she arrived, things are a lot better now. Okay, so well, thanks for watching, and I hope if you've got a split chassis loco, you have a little bit more luck than I did on purchase, but as I say, there's a bit of a happy ending to this. The loco isn't sitting on a shelf in a box, it's actually now quite reliably operating on the layout. And at a slower speed, there she is. Okay, well, that's goodbye for now, and in the next video I'll do something. I don't know what I'm going to be doing in the next video, but it may be something to do with scenery. But I'll be updating you soon. Okay, thanks for now. Bye bye.